Welcome to this week's episode of The Climate Impact, where we bring you the latest in local weather and environmental stories from WTOL 11's team of reporters and meteorologists. From Lake Erie water quality and forecast outlooks to global climate trends, we have you covered for all your climate stories that impact you and your community.
As millions of people are impacted by the storm, scientists are noting that hurricanes are getting much stronger. Meteorologist Matt Willoughby joins us tonight. Matt, this is gaining a lot of interest in the weather world.
Well, Kaylee, this is all started with the path of destruction Helene left behind last week. But why does that, at least a defining moment, weather history raise concerns about past and present tropical cyclones? Well, we need a paleoclimatologist to break this down and explain why this is happening.
Over the years, the ocean surface has been warming, and so that is letting hurricanes suck up even more energy and end up as stronger storms.
Dr. Sierra Peterson is an associate professor at the University of Michigan. She studies past climate and ocean conditions and how history can tell us why storms are getting stronger and what can be done to reverse the trend.
The only way to kind of cool the oceans is to reverse this global warming, is to decrease our fossil fuel emissions, transition to renewable energies, and then ultimately remove some of the greenhouse gases we've already put into the atmosphere.
Throughout the last few years, storms that are stronger are continuing to track more and more inland to places that haven't historically prepared for hurricanes, like Asheville, North Carolina.
In Michigan and Ohio, we saw earlier this summer Hurricane Beryl. The remnants of Hurricane Beryl came up this far north, and we had anomalously high rainfall in July. If we're seeing more of these strong and huge hurricanes, a much larger area of the country is going to need to be thinking about preparing for hurricane aftermath.
So how can we be more prepared to lessen the impacts when hurricanes do strike?
Stronger hurricanes are just one symptom of global climate change, global warming, right? So to treat the symptom, perhaps you do things like building codes and trying to make the infrastructure more resilient, but that's not going to stop the disease.
Well, Peterson says we should be thinking of these stronger hurricanes as an unnatural disaster in what once was a natural phenomenon, and amping up higher through global emissions and warmer water. Reporting in studio, I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby for WTOL 11.
Garden on the first day of October, and I tell you, Amanda, it looks like October.
It does. Here. It feels like it a little bit. Got a little goosey. It's a little chilly, but hey, our garden is. You know what? For it being October 1st, I'm really happy with how things are going. It is starting to wind down.
It's holding on strong.
But you know, we still have tomatoes. You know, I probably pulled about a dozen cherry tomatoes yesterday. I probably ate them all. I think before they even got back in the building. We pulled like 5 off of the early girls. We have a pepper on that red pepper plant. Somehow that plant we thought was dead.
It's still producing. And like you said, it's getting a little assistance because the sun is able to shine through now.
Yes, because the tomato plant's not taking it over. Also, our cucumber plant that we really thought was totally dead. I picked a cucumber off of it yesterday. The leaves, I feel like, are the healthiest they looked all summer after it got attacked by bugs and groundhogs. I think that the plant is actually hanging in there, and we still have a couple of cucumbers.
Yeah, I see one holding on strong right over here.
Yes. So I'm not going to complain. There's one right above your hand there too, right
really?
There.
Uh-oh, don't see it. There
right
it is.
There.
Okay.
Yes. So we still have the jalapenos are still producing. The banana peppers are still producing.
The jalapenos are going strong here.
There's a ton. I can't keep up with them. They're little, but they're mighty. I don't know. Some are turning red because we haven't picked them, But yeah, I can't complain about, it being October 1st and the garden looking like this. We've got a ton of herbs. The basil plant is meh, not great. But I want to think I'm going to probably try to dry some out, this rosemary, and I think this is oregano. It's either oregano or thyme. I can never keep them straight. But the chives still, I mean, yeah. So we still have herbs. Hey, have a salad for lunch, you know, with some herbs on it, because
this rosemary smells so good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. These are our cole crops that we planted about 3 weeks ago when Zach was here from Black Diamond.
Booming.
Spinach, look at this spinach, looks great.
It's luscious.
And this spring mix looks awesome. Spring mix or salad mix, it looks amazing. So we're about to have, I think, some nice salads here for lunch. And we can clip these off and it'll regrow.
It's so nice to be able to come right outside and just clip a little bit.
Yeah.
Take it right in. Wash it off if you want to.
Yeah.
I know for you, not so much. Those cherry tomatoes, they didn't get washed off.
No, they definitely don't. But you might want to wash these because I have seen little bugs here and there. These are Brussels sprouts. So I don't think these are close yet because I think that they kind of grow up on here. So I don't think the Brussels are close, and I don't think our broccoli is close either. This doesn't look like a whole lot happening with the broccoli plant. The leaves, I don't know. Somebody might be getting to those. We're gonna have to check in with Zach.
I wonder how they're.
I don't know.
Yeah, getting up there, getting to those.
Yeah.
They're eating good too.
Yeah. So, and this is the smoothie mix. We can cut that up, put that in a little smoothie for you, and put some other veggies and
some good nutrients.
Yeah. So I think things are looking pretty decent out here.
I do too.
And of course, so we want to know at home, are you planting cole crops? How do they look? How do you think ours look? Because I'm new to cole crops, so please send any kind of tips or anything that you might have about what these Brussels sprouts and broccoli are supposed to look like. And any tips you have for drying herbs, because I want to do that as well. And let us know if you've still got a ton of harvest happening.
I'm pretty sure people still do.
They're still getting buckets of tomatoes every day.
They're just giving so much away, because that's what usually happens around.
They give it away, canning, preserving, freezing, all that is happening right now. So again, send us your pictures of your garden. Let us know what's going on with it, what you're doing, what your plan is as we head through the fall and into the winter.
Yeah, send us some recipes too. We always like some good recipes.
Yeah.
They help out. So if you have an abundance of something and you're like, you know what? I don't want to eat the usual. I want something different. Yeah, send it to us and we could try it.
Absolutely. Find us on Facebook, Manfit Anchor Reporter. Send those to us and we want to see what's going on in your garden. But yeah, I think Good Day Garden has had a pretty good season. What do you think?
Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, absolutely.
Thumbs up.
We'll be back with more Good Day. Stay with us.
Welcome to this week's WTOL 11 Weather Impact. I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby, and of course, it is the start of fall. So what does that mean? Yeah, we are breaking down all things fall and exactly why do leaves change colors during the fall months. So of course, we have to really break down the science for this to really understand why don't they change throughout all the seasons, but specifically those fall months. So it all starts with chlorophyll. When those colors and at least that cooler weather in trees breaks down, that chlorophyll breaks down those trees and likely leaving other chemicals that causes those leaves to in fact change color. So you may see those greens still into the trees, but also those yellows, oranges, and reds really give that vibrant color to those trees and those beautiful fall feeling and smells you do see during those fall months. So of course, with those brighter colors, more likely when a late summer is dry and autumn has those fall days where they're sunny and those cooler nights as well. But those cooler nights are really a key parts of that. So when we talk about chlorophyll, it makes sugar from plants using water and sun, and it's produced really during those growing seasons and obscured for other colors during those warmer days. But hey, when we talk about chlorophyll even more, a warm start to fall, well, those leaves may be seeing that pigment leaves, but that drought and heat, really not a good recipe for those leaves to change those vibrant, great colors. So when we talk about those fall nights affecting fall color, well, if you do see those warmer nights, you typically see an example like this, where it's a more dull orange than a more vibrant orange. But if you really get those cooler nights that we all love sometimes during those fall, at least fall months, well, that's when you see those cool nights and really enhanced colors. So those bright, vibrant, in deep oranges and also those reds and yellows is really the perfect recipe for some great fall colors. So when we break this down a little bit more, we talked about earlier, well, that drought and heat stress, something we've actually dealt with throughout Northwest Ohio and pretty much all across the state. That's when we start to see that pigment and at least a little bit of those leaves changing a little earlier, which is not necessarily a good thing. And of course, earlier summer warming as well, we've definitely had that heat wave, and at least storm damage really didn't have that, but some of those recipes we did have, in fact, resulted in some of those leaves changing a little earlier. But what about later? Typically when you see those warmer fall nights, warmer Octobers, and even low wind speeds, that's when you'll see those later peak colors as you go throughout those Octobers and even into November. So when we talk about the fall weather impacts, if you see those cooler conditions, well, you'll see more vibrant colors on those sunny and crisp cooler days, kind of like what we were seeing this past week. Yeah, it's going to be a perfect recipe for it. But if you have warmer conditions, really going to take a little bit longer for those leaves to start going and start changing those colors, as it'll be a little bit bleak with those colors and often muted colors for at least those leaves out there as you go through October and November. When we talk about wetter versus drier, typically you like those rainy days, but not too much rain will really start to mute those colors a little bit. So if you get some rain, but not too much, that'll be a great recipe for it. But if you got dry conditions, kind of like what we are seeing with those drought conditions for at least several weeks now, really not going to see much colors really stick out across our area. Now, we talk about those average peak colors. We're right around the corner. Of course, we're starting off October finally. We're not likely to see that peak, at least as we go throughout the mid to late October month. So get ready. It is on its way. But of course, with that, we're going to localize this a little bit. We have a very special guest, at least telling you throughout all the metro parks, if you're in Toledo, where to find the best fall foliage and, of course, some of those trails that you could see as we go throughout the next couple of weeks. Check it out.
In any year, you want to look for the first fall colors along the edges of the woods, the edges of the streams, like the Maumee River here. That's where you're going to see the first colors. We're already seeing the sumac, the sassafras, vines like poison ivy are really pretty this time of year. Two parks I'd highly recommend would be Pearson Metro Park in Oregon in the eastern part of the county and Secor Metro Park in the western end of the county. Both have a nice mix of trees.
And we would like to thank Scott Carpenter from Metro Parks Toledo for joining us and helping us at least tell us where the best spots are, at least to see that fall foliage. So don't wait till it is peak. At least get out there and enjoy it while we are leading up to peak. That's truly going to be one of the greatest times when you have those cooler evenings and, of course, those crisp days ahead to see that fall foliage. So kind of talking about the little climate impacts we are seeing over the last several years. So as far as warming fall nights, we are seeing about a 4 to 5 degree increase during those fall nights. Really not a good thing when we talk about those fall colors and really needing those cooler nights to get those great vibrant colors we typically see around this time of year. So when we talk about those fall color impacts this year, well, those drought conditions have surely impacted those vibrant colors, but hopefully we can catch up and get some more rain showers as we go throughout the month of October. And we also did see some above average temperatures throughout September, or we're finally starting to cool down a little bit. So hopefully that will play a role in us catching up with those fall colors and seeing really those vibrant reds, yellows, and oranges we all love to see. And of course, lastly, those cooler days in October will in fact help us see those vibrant colors right on time, which typically is around mid-October and even late October for those fall peak colors. So if you're driving around, walking around the metro parks, yeah, you'll start to see some color changes as we go throughout the next couple of weeks, but really gonna at least spur into the moment with some great colors as we go towards the later of October. That's pretty much an explainer of why we see those colors change around this time of year and when you can see those great colors coming up as we go throughout the next couple of weeks. I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby. Thanks for watching this week's WTOL 11 Weather Impact. Thanks for watching.
Our 11 Investigates team began looking into one of the state's largest meat producers last month, Schmucker Family Farms.
Our report highlighted concerns about the farms polluting Williams County waterways and bypassing permit laws. And that report caught the attention of high-ranking state officials who agreed to meet with our team in Columbus.
Lead investigator Brian Duggar, he's got the details on those meetings and the state's investigation into Schmucker Family Farms.
On September 3rd, inspectors from Columbus descended upon Eden, Ohio, in the far northwest corner of the state. It was their second visit to properties owned by Schmucker Family Farms, one of the region's largest meat producers. Last month, 11 Investigates reported that the Ohio Department of Agriculture and Environmental Protection Agency cited 16 family properties in June and July for various manure handling issues. But the large piles of manure are mostly gone.
Recently, most of them have come into compliance by their deadline. We have a couple that have not reached that deadline yet, but they are moving forward to take care of any concerns that we look at.
3 properties were originally cited for having more animals than the 999 allowed on a parcel. More than that requires a permit, a process that is underway according to the family. A permit comes with closer monitoring.
There are more requirements, more paperwork, more reporting that they have to do. Obviously, we are engaged more with those folks from a standpoint of making sure they're following the rules that are set.
Our August investigation caught the attention of state officials. The directors of the Department of Agriculture and EPA, Brian Baldridge and Ann Vogel, agreed to meet with us in Columbus. Both agency heads say they are ensuring compliance at the Schmucker properties.
While the Department of Agriculture controls like permits to install or actually permits a large feeding operation, the Ohio EPA will get involved if there is a discharge.
In our report, we highlighted the influx of about 100,000 cows into Northwest Ohio and spotlighted issues with polluted waterways. There were documented discharges from the Schmucker properties. 11 Investigates analyzed water samples of St. Joseph tributaries that were provided to us by local residents. Fish in Bear Creeks had troubling levels of E. coli. Levels above 1,000 would close a beach. Some testing points were 24 times that level.
On both September 10th and September 16th, our teams were out taking samples in Bear Creek and Fish Creek and several tributaries to those small creeks to find out exactly that. And so as soon as we have those results, we will make them publicly available and get them to you. So it will take several weeks to get those results, but we want to know exactly what's in the water as well.
But we also identified notable land management trends in extreme Northwest Ohio. Auditor records that we reviewed show a large number of parcel splits involving the Schmuckers and their partners beginning in early 2023.
I have a decent sized family, and there's talks of dividing up some of our farms and so forth as we go to the next generation. So for whatever reason that occurs.
However, splitting a parcel can also allow a farmer to build barns on each property and have fewer than 1,000 animals in those barns, avoiding a permit requirement. 11 Investigates previously discovered an email from another ODA official. In that email, the official, in discussing the Schmuckers, says the splitting is a loophole. The email reads, "We have to find a way to close this loophole. It is a problem."
It's troubling.
Environmentalist Sandy Benn says she has no doubt that a game is being played with Northwest Ohio's waterways.
I want a CAFO permit for the whole operation, consolidate all the parcels and let it be as it is, and let them be able to inspect and investigate and make sure there's no runoff. That would be at least a responsible action for the state of Ohio to take. Anything less is not.
Multiple times during our Columbus interviews, we are told that state investigations start with a citizen's complaint.
We are a complaint-based program.
Maybe folks don't like that this is a complaint-driven process.
Ben and a Williams County group provided investigators photos, water testing, and other information about the 16 properties. However, the family owns many other properties.
It's really upsetting that they didn't go and investigate the rest of them. Just because we only picked some of them, there are many, many more that were doing the same thing. So are these 16 fixed and the majority left unless we see something and can drive a complaint?
But Baldridge and Vogel say their work is not done.
What we want to see is the problem fixed. The problem fixed swiftly, quickly, so that we don't have a larger concern.
And the governor's asked us to stay on top of this, to make sure that we're verifying compliance. This is not just a matter of us taking their word for it. We're going to be out there, we're going to be making sure that they're in compliance.
Yeah. Now, I talked to Michael Schmucker, the spokesman for Schmucker Family Farms. He is expecting 3 properties, including his own, to receive permits to become essentially mega farms before their December deadline. Michael Schmucker, however, has already missed one ODA deadline to fix his farm's manure issues. He was fined $10,000 for missing that September 1st deadline. But he told me he will not appeal and he'll pay the fine. And he says his family is working closely with the state agencies. So the next big chapter in this story is the results from that water testing. That will tell us if these waterways continue to be polluted, likely by these animal operations. So we'll let you know. Reporting in studio, this is Brian Duggar for 11 Investigates.
Meteorologist John Birchfield here with the first edition of the Climate Friday newsletter of the month of October. And now that we are in the heart of the fall season, you may be seeing some of those leaves change color. Now, with the prevailing drought conditions over the last month or so, you may be wondering, will the drought play a role in the fall foliage? And will we still see some vibrant fall colors? We're going to answer those questions and talk about the impacts of precipitation on cloud cover, as well as overnight temperatures on the fall foliage and what you can expect for our autumn colors this season. If you're not already subscribed, WTOL.com/email is the place to subscribe to that Climate Friday newsletter. So let's talk impacts of the severe drought and how it may affect our fall foliage this season. Even though many areas in northwest Ohio and southeastern Michigan did receive rainfall within the past 7 days, for much of northwest Ohio, including the Toledo metro, severe drought conditions have prevailed over the last week. Due to the ongoing late summer drought, especially during the month of September, that drought could hamper the fall colors and cause some changes to what we normally anticipate for the autumn foliage season. So we're first of all going to talk drought, and then we'll get into the details of the impacts that it may have on fall foliage. Unfortunately, much of the Maumee River corridor and north and west of the Maumee River did not see a ton of rainfall over the last week. Areas south did get some rainfall, and one of the things that I have noticed with the drought monitor is that far east of Toledo and Erie and Huron counties, we're seeing some improvements due to recent rainfall. Southern Michigan also did get a bit of rain, but from Toledo back towards Fulton, Williams, Defiance, and Henry counties, those locations are still in dire need of that rainfall. There has been some improvement far to the south and east of Toledo, from Sandusky back towards Fremont, Tiffin, and Norwalk, and there's actually parts of Erie and Huron County that are no longer under any sort of drought and not even considered to be abnormally dry. Now, for Lucas County and the Toledo metro, spanning all the way back towards Wauseon, Napoleon, and Defiance, along Route 24 towards Antwerp and Fort Wayne, that corridor is still under a severe drought, and that has remained unchanged, including Lucas County. And that orange color that you see indicates that the entirety of Lucas County, as well as parts of northern Wood County, still remain under a severe drought. So in terms of rainfall by the numbers, we have yet to receive a single inch of rain since the start of September, which is when meteorological fall begins. That puts us considerably below average in the rainfall department. In fact, we are now approaching 2.5 inches below average in terms of rainfall. So let's talk about the impacts that the weather has on the fall colors, starting things off with summer weather, because summer and fall weather each play a unique role in how vibrant and how long-lasting the autumn foliage is. Now, frequent summer rainfall is generally beneficial for the fall foliage season. Typically, when we get a wetter summer, the leaves change a bit later on in the fall season, and they also fall off later, so that can mean a more prolonged autumn foliage season. What that would mean for us is that late October, even into early November, will provide a nice longer window of beautiful fall foliage, and that is often associated with more vibrant color. Of course, you don't want flooding rains, but more frequent summer rainfall is generally conducive to a bit of a later season and a more vibrant and long-lasting season. Now, drought can generally have an adverse effect on the fall foliage. What that does is the corollary to what a wet summer does. It typically causes some of those leaves to change color earlier, and it really stresses out and imposes stress upon those trees. What that does is it decreases or shortens the window of fall colors, and unfortunately, that can sometimes mean less vibrant color and a shorter window of fall colors. We do typically see the colors change a little bit sooner, and the leaves also do fall off faster. So in addition to the long-term weather trends, shorter-term storm systems can also have an impact. When you get winds and storms, those can physically remove leaves from the trees, and sometimes that does sap away from the vibrancy of the fall colors, because leaves that are not quite even changed can be falling off the trees. And that is especially true after the trees have been stressed for the last month with drought conditions. That often makes for a less vibrant year of foliage when you get frequent systems that bring strong winds as well as heavier thunderstorms. So that's the impact of summer weather. What about when fall rolls around? Well, once fall does start to begin, especially during October, you actually want cooler nights. Warm nights can cause or be associated with duller colors in the fall foliage. When you get those cooling, crisp nights with temperatures in the 40s to even the 50s, that enhances the color, and it really starts to bring out some of those colorful and vibrant pigments. The cool nights are the trigger that cause those trees to stop making the green pigment chlorophyll, and that enables some of those bright reds, orange, purples, yellows to really shine through. So the cool nights in the forecast actually are looking favorable. If you stay tuned to that WTOL 11 weather forecast, you will see a lot of night times in the 40s. Warmer nights tend to produce duller color, especially over a longer duration of time. So what about precipitation? We do need some rainfall, not too much. You don't want flooding rains or any saturation or ponding of water. However, some rainfall is needed. When the trees are stressed, that often leads to those leaves falling off a bit sooner, as well as a shorter duration of the fall foliage, and oftentimes a less vibrant leaf peeping season. And that is the scenario that we find ourselves in this year, with drought conditions for the entirety of September. So in terms of individual pigments, I talked about those overnight low temperatures, especially those cool, crisp nights. The red pigment, that is known as anthocyanin, and that is one of the most coveted colors of the leaves for those who enjoy looking at fall colors. The red leaves are certainly beautiful, and they're a little bit harder to come by. Now, when you get cool and sunny autumn days, especially those cool and crisp nights, the colors can be more vibrant. If it's too hot or too rainy in the fall, you tend to see a little bit less in the way of red. So we do have a favorable forecast, at least heading through mid-October. There are going to be some cooler days in that forecast with highs in the 60s, as well as sunny days with crisp nights. So fingers crossed that is favorable towards seeing those reds and bringing out the anthocyanin pigments that are associated with the reds. Now, autumn weather still continues to play a role through the month of October. Drought and heat generally not good for the fall foliage, and hot summers, as I mentioned, cause an earlier transition of those colors, and oftentimes that means the leaves end up falling off by the start of November. Storms and wind can also lead to a sooner or more premature shedding of those leaves. Later colors, when you get warm fall nights, that tends to prolong the change of the leaves. Those warm fall nights essentially trick the trees into thinking that it's still summertime. So we do have some cooler nights in the forecast, even after relatively warm weather throughout the month of September. October weather still does play a role in it, and the warmer the October, the later the transition to those fall colors. It's those cooler nights that signal the shift in fall foliage. So Ohio, Michigan, and much of the Midwest could be impacted by the drought conditions. Fall foliage is a significant business, especially in terms of tourism, and especially Michigan. A lot of folks do drive north to see the autumn colors. New England is also another destination, and many areas out in the Rockies out west do see a lot of tourism. Across the country, it is estimated that this is a $30 billion industry, the fall foliage tourism. So there could potentially be local impacts, especially to Michigan, where people do drive to enjoy those fall colors if it's not quite as vibrant of a year. So when do we normally see the change in fall colors? Well, across northern Ohio, it's typically mid-October that we start to arrive at or reach the peak of fall foliage, from about the 14th or the second week through the 21st or the third week of October. In central Ohio, and that can potentially include areas like Mansfield down towards Columbus, it's just a couple of days later, ranging from about the 17th through the 24th. And of course, there is a lot of year-to-year variation based on the weather pattern. Down into southern Ohio, it is oftentimes not until about Halloween and even early November that the peak of fall colors arrives. Now, of course, due to the drought that we've had, that could potentially cause this to be a little bit earlier, and it could also shrink the window or make it a little bit more brief. However, these cooler nights could trigger some nice colors within the next couple of weeks. In summary, temperatures, sunshine, and rainfall all play a role, and October weather conditions will still play a role. So the drought is not necessarily the only factor that's going to play a role in our fall colors. The upcoming temperatures through October, as well as the amount of sun we get in rainfall, are going to play a role. Sunny days are helpful. You do want those sunny days and clear, crisp nights. You don't want it to be too dry or too wet. Of course, it has been too dry over the summer season, and it is likely that through the first 2 weeks of October, it is going to be a very, very dry weather pattern. When you get early frost and freeze into the month of October, that can hurt the fall colors, and it can also cause some of those leaves to fall off or die before they've fully transitioned and changed colors. Drought conditions impose stress on trees, and that can cause the leaves to fall off sooner than they may, and also shrink or abbreviate the window of fall colors. So long story short, some of the signs and some of the weather conditions throughout the month of September, not exactly favorable for fall fanatics and leaf peepers. However, there is still hope with some cooler and crisp nights in the next week that we will start to see the change in fall foliage, and within the next week, you are really going to start to notice a difference. If you're not already subscribed to that Climate Friday newsletter, we'll have updates throughout the autumn season and what you can expect for the fall colors, and stay tuned to that WTOL 11 weather forecast. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. You can catch any of the latest anytime on our WTOL 11 Plus streaming app, available on Roku and Fire TV. Be sure to also download the free WTOL 11 news and weather apps for everything happening in your community and beyond.